There we go. Thank you, Susan. Okay. So I'm going to put the screensaver up for those of you who popped in late. Oh, I lost it. Hold on here for a minute. That's never happened before. Okay. Sorry. There we go. All right. Thank goodness Pam didn't tune in on these things because she'd be horrified that I showed the junk drawer in our kitchen. There it is in all its glory. I was talking to one of my fellow pilgrims that I've been walking with for a long time, and who's a 6 on the Enneagram, and she says, "I don't have a junk drawer." I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Oh no, I got little plastic things in every drawer, and everything is in its place." And I said, "Well, I learned something about 6s here." I said, "Well, we certainly have one." I said, "You might not have one in your house, but you have one in this house," and that's what the poem's about today. So there's the junk drawer. Yeah, that's where that thing is. All right. So the poem that I'm going to use today is called "Opening Your Junk Drawer," and it'll lead us somewhere, I think. Hopefully, I want to write about the junk drawer in everybody's house. To write about what a great metaphor the junk drawer is for the darkness that lies hidden in our heart of hearts. You know that drawer. It's crammed full of all the junk that for some reason you can't bear to part with, and yet you also can't bear to let anyone else ever see. That drawer is crammed so full of mounting mistakes, trauma, failings, addictions, shame, and self centeredness that you must keep pressing it all down just to keep it shut. It's mysterious, deeply sad, and all too common that so few of us open our junk drawers to our husbands, wives, or partners. Well, then, who can you open your junk drawer to in this life? A lover? A best friend? Your 12-step sponsor? A therapist? Even one other person? Let us pray. The marvel of meditation and its practice is that each and every day you can sit down in wordless silence and simply open the junk drawer to the beloved, to the friend, to the sponsor, all rolled into one divine therapist. You can empty your junk. You can't empty your junk drawer if you don't open it. You can't empty your junk drawer if you don't open it. Saints and Buddhas aspire to do just that. Open it every day. If you develop a meditation practice, the emptying follows. But here's the secret. You can't do the emptying. It is done unto you. Yeah. Let's just highlight a few words of that. I want to write about the junk drawer in everybody's house, to write about what a great metaphor the junk drawer is for the darkness that lies hidden in our heart of hearts, in our deepest space. Darkness that is metaphor itself for just the unknown. Okay. What I call the heart of hearts, Jung and Freud and analysts would call the unconscious. In the central part of ourself are those things we don't know, or those things that we knew so well and we're so ashamed of that we crammed it in there. You know that drawer. It's crammed full of all the junk that for some reason you can't bear to part with. So it's sort of amazing to me that things like shame, for instance, which I think has zero utility, zero help. It's zero helpful in our journey, but for some reason we can't bear to part with it. I know that, and yet you can't bear to let anyone else ever see it. So it's got to go into the junk drawer. All the mounting mistakes, the trauma, the failures, addictions, shame, and self-centeredness. You just have to keep pressing it down just to keep the drawer shut. That takes a lot of psychic energy. That takes a lot of life force, life energy to keep pressing this stuff down and keeping it so we can keep the door shut and keep the drawer shut. And then, you may be the exception to this, and I really do mean the exception. It's mysterious, deeply sad, and all too common that so few of us open our own personal junk drawers to our husbands, wives, or partners. That's really interesting. Maybe because, we really have some kind of, this is actually one of those things in the junk drawer that's really in consciousness. Gee, if they ever saw this, they'd take off in a moment. And this is my wife, this is my husband, this is my partner. Yeah, and that is part of what I've learned, and we're coming up to our 51st anniversary, is that the opening of the junk drawer to your partner is it's the only way. And he or she, they either hang in with you or not, and but otherwise you're pretending all the time. I did that for decades in my relationship with my wife and with other people too. Pretense. You're pretending that stuff doesn't exist. Who can you open the junk drawer to in life? I didn't start out being able to do that with Pam. Sometimes a lover, sometimes a best friend, your 12-step sponsor, a therapist. These are maybe the first beings you can actually open the drawer to. And if it works, as the 12 steps work, as therapy works for some people, as just even a best friend, then you can open it to more and more people. And one day, hopefully, to the person you most love in the world. Yeah. So sometimes we have to go sideways before we can actually start opening it to the people who most matter, our kids, our siblings, and then our partners, if we have a significant partner. Even yourself. Things can get so pressed down and so lost that you've forgotten it yourself. Those parts of yourself that you had to put in the junk drawer because your family didn't tolerate it. You had to shave parts of yourself off. We all do. very few of us grow up in a just optimum, entirely welcoming environment. And so you have to shave parts of yourself off. And then you put it in the junk drawer. And sometimes you've forgotten those parts even existed. Well, this is very much the, the part of the second half of life, which most of us are in, at least biologically here, that you can go into the junk drawer and find those parts that maybe in your family of origin that couldn't be you, but now it can be. But they're so lost we've even forgotten them. So, friend, sponsor, therapist, lover even, sometimes they help you open that drawer. And you can't empty the junk drawer, which I think is sort of it's what enlightenment means. It's what being a saint means. It doesn't mean you don't have junk in the drawer, but you're wanting to be lighter. That takes a lot of energy to keep that drawer shut. A lot of psychic energy to push all that stuff down. And you can't empty your junk drawer if you don't open it. And saints and Buddhists do just that. They aspire to do that. That's part of the practice, to open it every day. And if you develop a meditation practice, the emptying will follow. If you have a good practice in whatever form, the emptying starts to follow. We've been talking about emptiness the last couple of times. Well, this just follows on that. The Holy of Holies was totally empty in the Jewish temple. But here's really the tricky part, the secret to it. You can open the junk drawer, but you can't do the emptying. I mean, you put it in there. You can't bear to take it out. You can't do the emptying. It is really in the place of meditation, in the moment of meditation, in the space for grace that is meditation. The emptying is done unto you, just as in the Gospels, when the angel Gabriel flies in the window and Mary, this teenager, and he says, gives this proposition that she's, going to be the mother of the manifestation of the creator of the universe. She tries to resist. She said, "Oh yeah, how can I give birth? I haven't even known a man." She's trying to put it together, and he just persists, and then she says, "Okay, let it be done unto me, according to thy will." That sense of surrender comes in there in meditation. So, I mean, a real practical way, one way of looking at what we're going to do in a few minutes when we just shift gears into a different kind of listening where there are no words going on. We're listening in the silence. You can consent in a kind of very personal way, however you want to do it. But you consent to just open your junk drawer to the divine source, to the universe, to the beloved, to whatever has kept you going this long. Sort of amazing we're still here, given what some of us have gone through. And you can just very simply have that image. Thomas Keating really helped me. Sat with him 25, 26 years ago, and introducing me to centering prayer. And it took me about 10 or 15 years to catch up to where he was. And I had some other work to do, but you can use a divine image every time you're trying to bring yourself back from wherever the mind goes. We all know where the mind goes. It just follows this train of thought, or this itch on your nose, or this sore back. It goes elsewhere. But then when you bring it back to just being in the presence, in your center, you can use a word, but you could also use the image. The images of just the open drawer full of junk, Yeah, you could use a sacred image. You can use the sacred breath. Hell, I'm so crazy. Sometimes I use all three. It's good to have a tool belt there and a toolbox. You know, I'm not putting you on. I mean, life can make you so crazy that you need every support you can get. And so a sacred image that brings you back, sacred word, the breath itself. Individually, you could use any of them. Sometimes you don't even need one. You know, you just notice you're not present. You notice you're absent. Notice you're on some train of thought. Just in noticing it, really, you're starting to come back. And if you don't need a word or an image, uh, or the breath itself, why use it? That's Occam's razor. You know, don't clutter it up. It should be as uncluttered as possible because we got enough clutter. I do. And so you could use that image in your own junk drawer. I mean, the reason it's in you got one is because you can't bear to empty it. These are things you can't bear to, you know, you know, can't bear to really work with. And so we can use some help by just opening it to the divine source, whoever is on the other end of this enterprise we call meditation, you see. So it's really, feel free to use that image. And over time, all I can say, this is my experience, over time, um, uh, darkness, trauma, it gets healed. Even you, and you may never even know what's being healed, and maybe it's something that was just, the timing is not yours. But then sometimes the beautiful part is these long forgotten parts of yourself that you had to ditch because your father didn't allow it, or even as we went into our communities beyond the family, the kids at school and the teachers, and then et cetera, et cetera. We're going from tribe to tribe, and the tribe has certain rules, and oh no, you can't be that. So into the junk drawer. Well, these things come back to you, which is a kind of reassembly that happens, that's meant to happen in this part of life. We have the luxury to be here. We have the luxury to even consider this. We are so lucky. In a couple of weeks, a couple of visitors are coming from Haiti to be with the parish here, because I haven't been able to take anybody down there for the last 3 years, I guess. And well, in Haiti, people don't have this luxury. There are many parts of the world, they don't have the advantage that we have to be able to spend some time doing this work and to be with one another like we are now. They don't have the technology, but they don't have the time. Haitians are out gathering firewood or looking for water or whatever, looking for food. We have that ability, so we ought to get at it. So I think that's enough for now, but feel free to use that symbol anytime. Okay, so we're gonna